Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to TBD, your Colorado Springs real estate podcast, micro version. I'm Rob Thompson, associate broker with the agency here in Colorado Springs, and I am doing a one-on-one session with Nanette Lampman, also a broker here in Colorado Springs, an associate broker, in this micro version, kind of a get-to-know-you podcast with Nanette here. So without further ado, Nanette, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Awesome. Who are you?
I am Nanette Lampman. I am a 30-plus year resident of Colorado Springs. Grew up military. My parents then settled back here. Been stationed at the academy, fell in love with Colorado, and came back in '89. Been here since.
All right.
Yep. Yeah. Raised 4 kids here. They're all grown, a couple grandkids. And that's about it in a nutshell.
No, you must love it here to stay.
I do.
Yep.
I do. Yeah. I've lived a lot of places, so we were stationed in 8 different areas, and this one out. Colorado did, so love it.
I retired here, as you know, too. And last couple of years I was in the military. We'd come here every year in the squadron I was in, once a year in the mountains, and we just knew it.
You.
Yep, we knew it. We knew this would be the place.
Yep, the weather's the best.
It is. It's sometimes 4 seasons in one day.
Exactly. Never boring.
No, it's just snow. I meant to send you a picture yesterday, actually, because yesterday, which you can't see behind the scenes here, yesterday I was talking to Nanette and telling her that my car was buried in my driveway in snow. And
I didn't believe it. I live downtown, and our streets were clear.
I was knee deep in my driveway.
Yeah,
I had to
it's crazy,
bust out the snowplow this morning and accidentally ran over my neighbor's phone that had fallen out of their car, apparently. Brought it to my door this morning and mangled.
Better that than the neighbor.
Yeah.
That would have been so much more tragic.
Catastrophic.
Just
okay.
the phone.
So, long time Colorado Springs resident. Market's changed in the last couple of years here.
It has. Yeah. I will say I moved here, like I said, in '89. Bought my first house in 1990. Had 1 kid, 1 on the way. Paid $42,000 for a 3-bed, 2-bath over off Pikes Peak and Circle. Sold it at $100. It's probably, you're talking over $200 now. $225, $230. It's crazy how much it's changed, and just how much the city's grown. I remember when Woodman was a dirt road. Yeah, that was a ways back.
Well. So if you're looking for an experienced Colorado resident, Nanette is your lady.
There you go.
Which leads us into my next question. Yeah. Why real estate?
It was just life. I was looking for a new job and decided that I wanted to live and work downtown. So I only looked at rentals that were downtown and found one, and started looking for jobs that were downtown, and got interviewed at a real estate office, and started out there as an office manager, and then kind of worked my way into learning writing contracts and that kind of thing, and decided to get licensed so that I could actually write the contracts and execute leases, because we did property management as well. And I fell in love with the real estate. I mean, I love the paperwork part of it. I loved watching the whole arc of somebody finding a home, going under contract, getting through that process with them, and then closing and making them happy.
Right on. That's my favorite. My favorite part is the advocacy of it. This is simply the vehicle through which I express my passion for advocacy for my peoples. Yeah. Nanette is the same way too. I can tell you, I've worked with her on a number of transactions now, and fierce advocate for her people as well.
Try to take care of them.
Yeah. Right on.
Because someone did it for me. I should add that. I had a great agent who helped me sell a house after a divorce, was able to actually sell it instead of losing the house. She was so good to me, and such an advocate, like you're saying, that she really kind of inspired me, and kind of modeled after that as well. That's
awesome. It's interesting how you can be inspired by an agent to become an agent. Yeah. I actually had the reverse happen. It was my agent, I wish they'd told me not to buy my house that I had bought when I bought and where I bought. And,
right.
So that lit a fire under me to say I'm going to be the
you
antithesis of that type of agent. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, so you've been doing this a while. What, if you could give one piece of advice to a seller? To a seller. Number one piece of advice to a home seller, what would it be?
Then I can only do one.
Well,
that's
no,
really tough.
Well, I was trying to let you off lightly.
I may need to expand.
Okay.
I think the first thing I would tell a seller is to get a CMA, comparative market analysis, and also a seller net sheet, so that they're working with the numbers that are pretty close to where it's going to come out, so you know what your profit's going to be. And from that point, I would definitely advise taking a really serious look at whether this is a good time to buy. To sell. Is the profit that you're going to make it worth it? And start looking around at, you need to know where you're going to move. And if you don't have a really compelling reason to sell, I think it would be your first step to find out if this is really the time before you get too far into the process.
That net sheet, I think, is critically important. I can't tell you how many times I have followed other folks in interviews where somebody preceded me in an interview and I brought a net sheet, and then several of the people who preceded me in various circumstances did not. Right. And here's this person that you need to know the numbers. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. And not to steal your thunder in this interview, but always budget for. What do you think somebody should always budget for seller concessions? That's kind of a loaded question, of course.
Yes, because it very likely could happen. And I think worst case scenario is the way to go.
Yeah, and if you itemize it, your net sheet can be a couple thousand higher, but always budget for it, right?
Exactly.
You gotta. I tell my folks, I'm a nuts and bolts guy, and here's the nuts and bolts of transaction, and so budget. Okay. Yeah. So what would be your number one piece of advice to a buyer?
I think really the same advice is this the right time to buy? People get caught up in just wanting to get a house. And I think you have to take a really hard look at your finances and see if it makes fiscal sense to purchase a home. There's a lot of costs involved there that people don't think about, like home maintenance once you're in there. So I think looking at your budget, looking at the market, does it make sense?
I had an individual call me a couple weeks ago, and they said that they had approximately 21 or 22 months left on station. They were military, and they had been told that it was a great time to buy a house, and make some money. And I said, I disagree. I said, here's the operative question: do you want to be a landlord? And they said, well, no. And I said, is that a hard no, or is it a shifting line in the sand no? And they said, hard no. We absolutely do not want to be landlords. I said, then the question shifts to this question. Do I have enough time left on station? Or am I going to hold on to the house long enough to gain the 7 to 10% appreciation that I need to break even? Where break even is defined as not bringing money to the table, not accounting for the cost that it costs to buy a house. And ultimately they made the decision not to buy a house because the numbers just didn't add up. And I mean, if you have a short horizon in this market, you have to factor in that you're going to have to pay 7 to 10% to sell the home if you use an agent. So the numbers. I
agree. It's not an emotional decision. It's a pro-con list kind of thing to decide if it's really the best time for you.
So it sounds like you approach this much like I do from an investment perspective, exactly. Long-term horizon.
Long-term, yep.
And even if you budget, or even if you are successful in a short-term hold, you don't want to bank on that. I think is what we're saying. Okay.
I think even looking at your family situation, is something going to change in the near future? Banking on there being 2 incomes, or hey, we don't have any kids and we have all this free income. Just things like that. Yep. Very important.
That was actually one of the mistakes we made when we bought our first house, and that's I don't know that we would have listened candidly to any advice, but no. Also, there was no one saying, "Hey, you're going to buy this house on that this budget is based on a projection of 2 fully employed adults." And then when 2007, 2006 happened, the economy tanked. My wife lost her job, and suddenly I'm carrying this massive mortgage on one income, and so
exactly.
Yeah.
So
long term.
Yep. Look at it all.
Well, there you have it. Lessons learned for both buyers and sellers is look at the numbers.
Yes.
And make a rational decision.
Yep.
And then maybe once you have your price point, then you go, and if you've made the go decision, then you go get emotional. But
there you go.
But then hire Nanette because.
But then hire me.
Yeah, because then she'll take you through that process and make sure that there's a non-emotional advocate. Watching and making sure, and as you go through the inspection process and stuff, being that voice.
And hold you to your budget, because I will.
Yeah. That's good. That's why you're a good agent, an excellent agent. Okay, so how do we contact you, Nanette?
You can give me a call, 719-661-9889, or text. You can always email me, nanette.lampman@comcast.net. But you're most likely to get a hold of me through text over email.
Okay. What about the Book of Face? Are you on the Book
of
Face?
The Book of Face, I am indeed. Okay. Nanette Lampman, a realtor. Okay. So you can definitely take a look at that.
Okay. And I'm going to make a shameless plug for Nanette. If you're looking at the Pueblo market, she recently started a Facebook group called Pueblo Housing Network. So join and follow her there. lots of good information, lots of good advocacy. Any last words, Nanette? Nope.
I can't think of any.
Okay.
Thanks for the opportunity, and feel free to give me a call. Let's chat.
Call her, please. Thanks. And this has been your micro version of TBD. We'll be back next week, hopefully, with a longer version. I started in a line today for that, but this is a good opportunity to highlight Nanette. So see you all around. Bye.